Hi, everyone. Today we have Christa Marie. She has had two near-death experiences, one where she saw God face to face, and at 8 weeks into nursing school, she was hit by a Mack truck. She's going to teach us the challenges of being back here on Earth and the gifts she brought back. Hi, Christa. Could you share your journey with us?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Yes, I'd be happy to share. Um, my first near-death experience was in 1998, and it was 8 weeks into nursing school. And I was speeding to go pick my daughter up because we were supposed to test out of a bunch of different things so that we could start clinicals when we got back from our break. And I was driving 99 miles an hour and I hit a pothole and my car went into oncoming traffic, and a Mack truck was coming, probably going around 50 some miles an hour, and I collided with that Mack truck. And it was really pretty amazing because right before that, everything turned into slow motion. So I had time to think like, okay, if I can just get to the ditch in time, then I'm going to be okay. And then all of a sudden I heard this lovely, beautiful, sweet voice say, "You're going to be okay." And then peace came over me. And so I was like gone before the impact. And I woke up on the correct side of the road. There was a paramedic that heard the accident. He was on his day off, and he came up to the window and he was tapping on the window, and he did his clinical assessment, asked me if I knew my name, knew what year it was, all of that stuff. And I didn't know any of it. I only knew two things. I knew I had a daughter, and I knew I was going to be a nurse. That's all. And I just kept repeating myself, I'm going to be a nurse. I have a daughter. I have to go get my daughter. And he asked me what her name was. I didn't know what her name was. He asked me where she was. I had no idea. Everything was just gone, but I just knew that I had a daughter. So I was taken to the hospital in an ambulance, and I didn't have any physical injuries. There wasn't even a scratch or a bruise on my body. I did have a traumatic brain injury where I lost my long-term memory and my short-term memory. But during that experience, when I was out, I was taken to this room and it was pink. And it was so loving. It's really even hard to describe that love that I felt, because there's nothing here on earth that really compares to it. So it's really it's a little bit challenging for me to describe that feeling, but it was unconditional love. And I felt really safe. And there was all this trust, and there was so much peace. But that's all I saw was just the pink light. I didn't see any other beings or anything like that. And so I stayed in nursing school without a long-term or short-term memory. And that is it's just amazing in itself, because I had to test out to receive like accommodations, to tape record the class, because I couldn't write and listen anymore. And when I would take notes, I would try to take notes and they just look like scribbles, like as if you gave like a 2-year-old a pen or a 3-year-old, and they would just start scribbling. But somehow I was able to read my own notes, even though they looked like scribbles. And I began having dreams about the tests and the questions and what the answers were, and I would know the scores I was going to get, and I would know the scores that other people were going to get. But when they tested me to receive the accommodations, because I also needed to be in a really quiet place where there weren't any distractions, they said that I was at the level of somebody who was mentally delayed. And they suggested just stepping out of nursing school and waiting until I healed. Well, I could only remember what someone said to me for 1 second. So everything they were saying, it was just gone. And if I saw something, I could remember it for 3 seconds. So even though they were telling me, maybe you should take a break, I'm thinking, I'm going to be a nurse. And that's all I knew, besides having a daughter. So I continued going to classes, even though when I would read things, I did not understand what I was reading. I went up to my teacher and I asked her, I said, what does this word mean? And one of the words I remember was elimination. And like, she knew like something's not right, because I was taking tests like very quickly and getting A's, and now all of a sudden I'm not understanding something. So she was aware of some of the troubles, and she's actually the one that suggested that I go to the office and get tested for accommodations. She too suggested that I take a break, but I was forgetting what everybody was saying to me. So I just said, well, I'm going to be a nurse. So no matter what they said, I was just very adamant that I was going to keep going to school. During this time, like when I was with patients in clinicals, I was able to see beyond. It was like just this knowing came in. I was receiving downloads throughout the whole entire time. Like when they would ask questions, the answer would just come in. And even my friends, that I was in school with, they were like, how do you know this? And I'm like, know what? Because everything was just coming and going like within a millisecond. So that's actually how I got through nursing school. I was getting downloads and I was just given this knowing and this knowledge at the very exact time that I needed it. And I was really just living moment by moment. And because when you're not in your head, the only other place that you can be living from is your heart. And if you're living in your heart and that puts you in this flow, and that is what opens you up to the infinite source knowledge. And anybody can do this, and they do not have to get hit by a Mack truck in order to access it. I mean, I don't recommend it because there were definitely challenges that came with it along the way. I mean, I would get lost driving, and I couldn't even figure out like how to put gas in the car. I would drive around the gas pumps like over and over. I couldn't get my car on the right side of the pump, and I would just finally go in and ask for help. And thank goodness, my daughter, she was in 2nd grade, and she was just absolutely brilliant. And she just had this innate knowing as to what to do. She started showing me pictures, and, she could help me find my way everywhere. When we were driving, and I would even, like in the beginning, before I had another car, I would go to the garage and there was no car. And I would tell my daughter, I'm like, somebody stole our car. And she would say, no, mom, you were in an accident. So she was just like, really, she ended up really growing up pretty quick because of all of this. And I feel pretty sad about that, but she's an older soul, so she handled it really well. And she is really brilliant, and I'm just grateful for that. I ended up graduating from nursing school and passing my boards. And then at some point I was given a book. So when I was taking a test, it was like this energetic book that I could see, and I could flip through the pages and I could go to the area in the book and find the answer to the question of the test. It was amazing. So that's how I made it through school, and none of the patients were in harm's way because I was given this seeing beyond. Like I started being able to see into their bodies, like where their injuries were. And I would just have this knowing, like if I was at the desk charting, I just had this knowing, like, I need to go to that room, or I need to do this. So I was just being divinely guided through every step of the way. And then we can jump ahead to the, well, actually I'll back up because my short-term memory did come back. My mom took me to a healing service, and during the healing service, I felt this swirling in my brain, and my face started tingling, and I started touching my face like, what is going on? Because I just was forgetting that I didn't even have a memory. Like I would just forget everything. And 3 days later, my short-term memory came back. So I was so excited. And the first thing that my daughter did was she got the pictures out. She was like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And still nothing. And I know that this had to be really heartbreaking for her. But it was 11 years later when I had a hip injury. I tore both of my hips exercising, and the doctors wanted to do hip replacements. And I just thought, you know what, that's just not for me. I knew that there was something out there that would heal me without surgery. So I held out, I shuffled my feet like I had Parkinson's for like a year, because I was definitely not going to have that surgery. I met this woman, and she said, I have these machines that can help you. They give your body the exact match of energy that your cells need so you can repair. So on my third day of treatments with her, my long-term memory came back. And it was like, if you can imagine all the stars in the sky just falling all at once, that's what it felt like in my brain. And I just started remembering everything, even to as young as like being a baby and in a high chair. It just went way back. I was really grateful for that. But when the long-term memory came back, there were also some other memories, that weren't so pleasant that I had remembered. And that's what started my healing journey, to just heal things on an emotional level, so that I could just move forward from all of those things. And then I'll jump to the near death that I just recently had, which was in April of 2020. And I got really sick. I was exposed to mold and the virus at the same time. And I knew that I was dying. My pulse was getting really weak, and I couldn't breathe, and my blood pressure was dropping. So I just knew that it was happening. And I thought to myself, divine team of medical angels. And it was just right that second when my soul rose above my body, and I was in this white room, and it was a team of angels, and they were doing soul surgery. They opened up my soul. They were pulling things out, putting things back in, just fixing things. And then I was standing face to face with God. And there was a gate, and one side of the gate was open. And on the other, the gate was gold. And on the other side of the gate, everything was gold. It was just so majestic and beautiful, beyond anything that I've ever seen before. And God said to me, "It is a mess down there." And I just said, I know, I can't leave it like this. I have to go back. And I knew my daughter was getting married, and I really wanted to come back and go to her wedding, but I also knew that I had to come back for a bigger purpose. So I looked down at my body, and then I just started like floating through this time of nothingness. It was just very peaceful and loving. And I was back in my body, and I woke up, and I knew that I had been healed of the virus, but I still had to heal from the mold exposure. And looking back, I really wish that I would have done a little better bargaining while I was up there. Because, you know, maybe the healing journey would have been a little less tumultuous. But during that process of healing, I began speaking another language. And it just came out of my mouth one day. And I was told it is the language of the light of the divine, and to speak it with intention. And they also said that we are in Earth school. That's what Earth is. And then throughout this whole healing journey from the mold, other gifts started coming in. And like just, I mean, it's just been amazing. Like all of the gifts that I had before, like the seeing, the hearing things, the knowing, everything has just been amplified. And it has made it just a little bit more challenging being back here on Earth, because I pick up everything that's going on in the world, in the collective. So I really do wish that it was Valentine's Day every single day, because that day is when the frequency on the planet is the highest, because everybody just steps into that place of love. You know, there's roses, and even if they're not happy, like it's still like in the back of their mind, and it shifts the frequency. So it makes it a little bit challenging, like stepping out into the world and feeling what other people are feeling, and even their physical pain. Like I can sense the physical ailments that are going on within their body, and definitely the emotional. So that is a little bit challenging. So I'm still trying to figure out how to really adapt to these new frequencies that I have come back with, so that I can do what it is I'm supposed to do while I'm here, which is heal people. Because the language I speak heals people. And then I've also been shown how to treat and heal people from a distance. It doesn't matter where they are. Energy travels outside of space and time. And I don't need to see the person in order to do a healing for them. It's actually better if I don't, and we just do it over the phone, because I work with them on an energetic level. So I'm still navigating trying to figure out how to be back in Earth school.
Thank you for sharing all that, Christa. Everything you said just now reminded me that I'm sure there are people that want to reach out to you for many reasons. And if you can tell us how you help people and how they can reach you, and if you have a website and anything you'd like to share about that.
Oh, yes. They can reach out to me by going to christamarie.com, and Christa is spelled CHRISTAMARIE.com, and they can schedule an appointment there. It's very easy to do. I made it as user friendly as possible. But the way the healings sessions go, we set up an appointment and I just call them on the phone. I am not doing Zoom appointments right now because it's just better and even sometimes when I'm on the phone with them, I need to hang up the phone and then I'll call them back. And I just have them, with their hands on their heart, and all they have to do is breathe. And I send the energies in because I can see inside their bodies. And there's this element of also the remote, there's the remote viewing and like the quantum leaping. So it's as if I'm right there with them. Or maybe that's teleporting. I don't know. That's pretty wild when that happens. But the healings are, they've just been really profound. And I feel like even the frequencies recently have amplified and the healings are taking place so much faster. Because I'm still I get downloads constantly. I'll receive messages as to a statement for them to say to clear the beliefs or the hurt or sadness or whatever it is they might be carrying that they're ready to let go of. And then I'm able to send in the energies and then the healing occurs.
And I'm going to ask you for your email as well, just in case something's up with the website or someone wants to email you. And I'll share my email. It's growthfactor.org@gmail.com. And that's why I do these interviews, is I want you and the people I interview and me as well to help people heal. Mostly what I focus on when I'm helping people as a hypnotherapist is anxiety. And that's why I do these interviews. I feel like it helps people who've had loss, financial, physical, a loved one, problems in the relationship. We all have big, huge challenges. And I'm going to ask you a little bit about that too at the end of the interview. So I mostly focus on anxiety, but that can manifest in so many things: test anxiety, weight loss, smoking, general anxiety, feeling sad, feeling lost. There's so much that's related to anxiety. And so that's my email, growthfactor.org@gmail.com. Also, if you hit the subscribe button, that always helps. That's just the way these work, so that interviewers like myself can keep these programs going. And so could you tell us your email if anyone somehow can't reach your website for some reason or would rather email?
They can go, I have a couple different emails. It's really best for them now to go to the website because my contact information will be on there, and there's going to be a new email address added within like the next week or so. So they'll be able to reach out to me that way, but that email hasn't been added yet.
I was also wondering if there's anything else you want to say about when you were hit by the Mack truck, or if there's just any details you had left out. But also I was wondering, typically you'll see in stories like yours in the comments, people would say, you were hallucinating, this is not true. So I was wondering, right when the Mack truck happened to you, did you tell anyone? What has the response been? And what would you say to family, friends, or viewers who say, you didn't go to heaven, you were hallucinating?
Well, that's interesting because everyone is in a different space and people have their own reality, like, I know that that's my truth. And sometimes it is really hard for people to believe unless they've actually experienced it. But there, like, I've had so many amazing experiences that I no longer live in this place of doubt, and I don't hold any judgment about anything. I don't judge people. That was one of the gifts that came in, is I have this unconditional love. And like, there's, that's a really peaceful and balanced place to be in when, like, when I see people, it doesn't matter what is going on around them. Like if they're upset or angry or expressing a certain behavior, I see the light within them, because that is their true essence. We all came from source, and all the other stuff is really a distraction. And I see beyond the distractions, and that actually allows me to help them release all of those things. Because there's even like a lot of separation. There's so much separation going on right now, like with everything, religion, the foods that you eat. Some people think you shouldn't eat this and you should eat that, and whatever is right for that person, that's okay. But when you're in this place of releasing the judgment of right and wrong, you are living in a space of unconditional love. And that is something that will raise the frequency within yourself and within others. If you can let go of the right and wrong. But when people say, oh, you're crazy, or there's no way, or I've had so many people say, like, you're so different, like you're not even from here. And I don't feel like I'm from this planet. I've never felt like I'm from here, from Earth. And that is a weird feeling. But I've felt like that my whole life. Like, what am I even doing here? When I was little, I used to think when I had to clean my room, I'm like, I should be able to just like magically do this. And the magic is happening. Like, for example, I was thinking about, oh gosh, I really want to get some flowers and I'm going to plant them. And then the next day I wake up and there's this cute little white planter in my yard. Things like that happen. Like, I was eating at this restaurant. I was with a client and we had finished her healing session and we ate all of our food. And I looked back to the guy behind the counter and I said, thank you, this food is delicious. And so I went to take our tray to the garbage and I lifted this styrofoam container that they give you the food in, and it was full. And I thought, this is really weird because we ate everything, like it was completely empty. But while I was eating, I was thinking, I need more protein in my diet. And when I opened up that styrofoam container, it was full of meat. You can't even go into the restaurant and buy it in that quantity. And she and I looked at each other like, wow, what is going on here? And I opened up the other one and it was full of meat. And I just looked at her and I said, you know what? We say thank you. We just say thank you. The universe is telling us that it is abundant and just be grateful. So, and I know that there's a lot of controversy around that as well, but a plant-based diet, it is not for everyone. I did try it for a while and I became very, very weak and my iron levels dropped. So I it's important to have a balanced diet. So whatever works for this person or that person, it's all okay. So it's just letting go of that judgment. So that's one of the really amazing things that happened. I was at a stoplight and there was a car that came, they were going, so I was heading north and they were coming from another direction, like west, and my light turned green. Well, as soon as my light turned green, they floored it and they drove their car, like I just saw them coming and they drove their car like right into mine, but I became invisible. It was like the Matrix effect. That's the best thing that I can really relate it to. But I was in this place of complete peace and I was centered and I was in gratitude, because this is after my second near-death experience. You know, I was so sick and I couldn't even get out of bed. And there were days when I could barely walk, but the pain was just excruciating. And I was relying on people for everything, you know, food, water. They were helping me with just surviving. And the day that I was able to go to the grocery store, that's when it happened. I was just so grateful that for everything, you know, that I could just walk to my car, and I was grateful that I had a car, and I was grateful for the blue sky, you know, just being in that space. That these are things that we take for granted every single day. And being in that space allowed that miracle to happen, because most people would think, well, I could have been killed. And my mind thinks, well, maybe not. You know, maybe you wouldn't have been because I've had so many miracles. One day I walked the labyrinth, and I go there quite often, and I walked it 3 times. And this is still on my healing journey from the mold. And I look up and, well, I'll back up, because on the way in, I'm praying. And then when you walk out of the labyrinth, you're giving thanks. And I look up and Jesus appeared. And he was hovering in the middle of the labyrinth, and he came in human form. His body was in human form, but his face was light. It was the brightest, whitest light that you could ever imagine. And the only way for me to actually be able to see Jesus, was for the human aspect to come in, because otherwise the light would have just been so bright I wouldn't have even been able to look at it, because it's brighter than the sun and we can't look at the sun. So that I was just really grateful for that. And I just knew, like, with all of these other gifts coming in and with the healing and being shown how to heal people anywhere in the world, I knew that I was going to heal, and my faith is just really, really strong. And then some other things that started happening, like, for example, I had a burn on my hand, and as I was thinking of what I would do, the burn healed instantly, and it was a pretty severe burn. I was going to need to get bandages, and I would do a treatment with my machines that I used, because after my hip injury, I purchased those devices, and I used those for a really long time to treat other people. And I love making lemonade out of lemons. And I thought, I'm gonna go to the store, I'm gonna get some bandages, and I'm going to get some Silvadene, and then I'll do a healing with the Acuscope and Myopulse. But as I was thinking all of this, my hand healed, and it actually looked younger. Like, it just changed completely. So just different things like that, being able to hear what animals are thinking, and being able to heal animals as well as humans. seeing inside the bodies of the animal and the humans, like all of these things have just really been heightened. But when people think, and that's what they're doing, they're thinking, which is where all of the doubt is held and all of the worry and the fear. When they're thinking that things like this are just like totally wacko, they're in their head. They're in their mind and they're not in their hearts. And when you are open to miracles, because miracles happen every day, all day long. So there are people that have, they have their own journey and their own timeline as to when they will start seeing things differently. Because you do see everything through a different lens when you open yourself up to it. And it's just a matter of being willing to let go of the beliefs. And when somebody is also thinking, you're nuts, or there's no way that happened to you, they're also in that place of judgment. So there's, when people are passing judgment or things like that, then, we all know that there's inner healing to be done. So it's always best to just kind of go inward and see what's going on within you first before looking outward.
I love all that. Thank you so much, Christa.
Thank you.
I have two more questions. The first is when you saw with the second NDE, when you saw answers, where were you? How did you experience that? I wasn't sure if you were awake, if you were asleep, where you were. That's my first question. My second and final question is that we probably almost all of us have resentment, anger. It could be towards siblings, parents, neighbors, our boss, our coworkers, that we need to release. So that was my second question is, have you had something like that and what helped you heal? But the first question is, where were you when you had the second NDE experience?
Okay, so when I was getting the answers for the tests through nursing school.
I think really your second NDE where you saw light. It was a second NDE.
When
I think you chose to come back to your daughter for her wedding. I think that.
Yes. Okay, so what was the question around that again? I'm sorry.
Where were you? I didn't know where you were. I didn't know how that happened. Were you asleep? Were you walking around? Was it an accident?
Oh, okay. So I was just in bed when I had the second. I was in my home and I didn't want to go to the hospital. I'm a nurse and I did not want to go to the hospital. I haven't worked in the hospital for years. But I was in my home when all of that happened. And you don't have to be in a hospital to have an NDE. It can happen anywhere.
That's right, because I forgot it was mold with the virus that caused that, right?
Yes, yes.
That's the part I forgot.
And I just was really resistant. I just wanted to stay in my own space. And I'm so glad I did, because I could have had a completely different experience. So for whatever reason, my soul knew that I needed to be in my own home the whole entire time.
And this was April 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
This
Yes.
was new where you could have had a situation in a hospital. I see what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And I just knew that I was not to go to the hospital.
And then my second question was like I had mentioned, we all have something, an anger, we're holding on to things that can bring us down. Have you had that? And have you had, how do you heal from that? And I guess we could keep it brief because we're.
Yes. So yes, I have, when my long-term memory came back, so did all of the emotions of sadness. And, I hadn't healed from the past traumas. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was really angry because I was like, oh my gosh, that happened. And it was overwhelming to remember all of those things. And I thought, I have got to heal from this. I cannot let this keep me prisoner. So I started just going inward and connecting to my heart. And when I would connect to the heart, I would see something else and I would get a message and I was able to release it. And, but then when I was exposed to the mold, I asked for every single thing to be revealed to me so that I could heal from it. Because everything happens for a reason. There is no such thing as a coincidence that I would have such toxicity in my body. And our emotions will store, like our bodies store emotions, and the fascia in our body, which is the glue that holds everything together, stores emotions. And if we don't get rid of it as soon as possible, it will somehow manifest into an illness or pain or something like that. And I said, God, please just reveal to me everything I need to know so that I can heal completely, because I was sent back for a reason. And all these other gifts were coming in or being amplified. And a lot of things would come to me in my sleep. And I went back to the time when I was 11 years old, and I was molested from the age of 11 until I was 17, but I had buried a really large part of it. And I asked for everything to be revealed to me. And I went back to that time, and it was revealed to me that I am a survivor of sex trafficking. And I am so grateful that it happened in my sleep, because I don't know if it's something that I would have been able to handle, like being awake, like right now, just like sitting here. It just would have been too overwhelming. And that's why everything came to me in my sleep. And I thought, oh my gosh, okay. And you know what? I was grateful that it came through, because I wanted to heal from every single thing, because I knew that I came back to earth for a very big reason. And so you have to just be grateful for everything, even if it doesn't feel good. It is for a higher purpose. So I can help people that have experienced that, because there's so many. I mean, it's just, there's so many people that have had that experience. And I don't want to say that they're victims, because having a victim mindset will keep you from healing. They're a survivor. They're so strong that they made it through it. And one of the things that I was blessed, I really do believe that I had special blessings throughout the whole entire time of that, when I was experiencing that trauma, because somehow I was able to separate myself. It's most likely a protective mechanism, but it was as if I was having an out-of-body experience. So it was more like I was just watching it happen to someone else. And that is a survival mechanism. It's the only way I could have made it through it. But one day I just thought, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I will not do it anymore. Like somehow, like I just had all of this strength come into me. And I had a Bible that I would just open it up, and every single time I would land on the same phrase, and it said, the truth will set you free. And that is what gave me the strength to put an end to all of it. Because I thought, you know what? I'm not living anyways. So at that point, you know, I was suffering from depression, and even, you know, just wanting to end it all. Because when something like that happens, it allows for a lot of lower vibrational entities to come in, and it's really emotional torture. And but I knew that I would be healed one day, because I cried out to God and I said, give me one reason why I shouldn't do this. And God said in this loud voice, like it was so loud and it was so clear, because I love you. And I thought, oh my gosh, okay, well, okay. I threw my plan out the window, and I just trusted that I would be healed and freed of the depression, and I would just be freed of everything. And so I started going to healing services, and I met a man who had this little baby Jesus, and he had me hold baby Jesus over my heart, just like this. And he started praying, and I saw the cross above me, and a drop of blood, it just went right through the top of my head, and it completely washed it away. I saw shackles breaking away, and I was instantly freed. So that's also something, you know, I'm just so grateful for, because I can help people. I can relate to them, and I have empathy and sympathy, and I can help them heal from those things. So I really look at everything that I've experienced as things that I can support other people with, so that they can heal, because you can heal from everything.
Oh, when you said that, Christa, I felt this pain and I hugged myself, because that's so painful. But at the same time, you can help so many people, because you've been through something so difficult that most people would probably crawl into a ball and never come out, like you said, almost happened to you until you heard a booming voice. So if you're open to doing a part 2, I think that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you. Because especially to hear that part of, the chills, to hear that part of your story, whoa, you can help so many people. Because to go through that and think about the rest of us, if we're having, you know, problems with our ex, problems with our marriage, financial problems, problems with our sibling, our parents, that can seem so much less than what you just shared. And if you can look so refreshed and you're smiling and you're a happy person, then there's so many people you can help. So I'd love to do a part 2, and it sounds like you're open to it.
Yes, that would be wonderful. People can heal from anything. And through these near-death experiences, one of the, you know, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it was this gift of unconditional love. And love heals everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Love will heal everything. And when a person can release all of those things that are keeping them back from being what their true essence is, which is love, because source energy is this magnificent, divine, unconditional love. When they can get to that place, then they are free of all of it. And everybody can do it. They absolutely can.
Thank you, Christa. Well, I'm ready for part 2. I know everyone will be as well. So if you can just remind us one more time, how do we get in touch with you? And then we'll say goodbye.
Oh, thank you. You can reach me by going to christamarie.com, and it's CHRISTAMARIE.com. And you can just simply make an appointment, and then we can move forward.
We all appreciate your story, Christa, so much, because
Thank
I
you.
think a lot of us have some deep, deep, deep things that we've gone through and journey that we're not willing to share, and you're willing to share to help others. So you're a very loving and wonderful person. I thank you very much for speaking today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Bye, Christa. Bye, everyone. Thank you for being here, everyone, especially Christa. Thank you.